Good morning. This is David Owen with Chainscape Web, and welcome to this episode of the Real Producers Partners Podcast. I'm joined this morning by Mike Sylvester. He's going to talk about radon services, and we're going to explore what he does and how to best get a hold of him. So welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show.
You bet. You bet. So tell us a little bit. Let's start with how should people want to get a hold of you? What's the
absolutely.
best way?
Lots of different ways to get a hold of us. We are Lifetime Home Services. We were formerly known as Lifetime Radon Solutions for the past 25 years. So a lot of people might know us as that. You can find us on the web under Lifetime Home Services or Lifetime Radon Solutions. Hundreds of 5-star Google reviews. You can contact us on our office. That number is 262-955-5701. Our website is lifetimehomeservices.com, or you can also check out our former website, lifetimeradonsolutions.com as well.
Great. Well, tell us a little bit about the business itself. Sounds like it's gone through a little change, and give us a little history.
Yeah, a little change. Just a little. So we were, like, as I mentioned, we were Lifetime Radon Solutions for 25 years. Scott Campbell and his wife Jen started the business back in 1998. And kind of as the story goes, Scott was building a new house in Delafield, and he had a family member that tested positive for lung cancer and was a clean eater, not a smoker, and they tied it back to radon. Well, Scott did a radon test in his own home. Scott had a background in handyman services and found that his home had high radon levels, so he started installing his own radon mitigation system. 5-10 of his neighbors come by and they're wondering, well, hey, Scott, what are you doing cutting a hole in your new roof like that? And he explained to them what was going on and what the problem was and his family situation. And all of a sudden, his neighbors wanted to test for radon and get systems in their own homes. And that's where kind of Scott saw the opportunity for a business. And in the last 25 years, he grew Lifetime Radon Solutions to be the most trusted and largest radon mitigator in the state of Wisconsin. And then just recently, as you mentioned, we went through just a little change. Throughout those past 25 years, we've had lots of customers who have asked us, well, hey, you're coming to do an electrical hookup for the fan. Could you put another outlet in my garage for me? Or, hey, I got a new Tesla. Could you put a supercharger in the garage for me? Yeah, sure, no problem. So we saw this need as people were asking us for more and more services. Hey, I need some handyman help. Do you guys know anybody, or do you do that? Or, hey, my furnace hasn't had a tune-up in 2 years. Do you know, or do you guys do furnace tune-ups? So we saw a need for homeowners. We wanted to make a convenient one-stop shop for people. And we expanded the business from just doing radon to now doing radon, electrical, HVAC, and handyman. And then we also have our sister company as well, Lifetime Renovations, who they can do, new kitchens, bathrooms, additions, all sorts of fun stuff.
Oh, wow. So just saying there's been a small change is putting it mildly.
Putting it mildly. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's great. So talk a little bit, since radon is how you started, talk a little bit about the risk. What's the issue with radon, and how do I know if I have it?
Yeah, great. 2 great questions. The only way to know if you have radon is to do a test. There's different kinds of tests. Now, there are kind of general ways to know if you if you might be susceptible to radon. A really great resource for people is the Department of Health and Human Services, they have a radon map, an interactive map that you can look online. The website for that is dhs.wisconsin.gov/radon. And from that interactive map, you can input your zip code, and it'll tell you how many tests have been reported in that zip code, what's the average radon level for that zip code, and what's the highest level of radon found in that zip code. And you'll see, the average could be 2, but there was somebody in that zip code that had 124. And you don't want to be that person who doesn't know. So the only way to really know about radon is to do a test. You can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can't see it. There's typically 2 types of tests that people will run. One is like a charcoal test. You can get those at Home Depot, Menards. You can get them through the county. The Department of Health sometimes has tests, or local libraries might have them. You set that charcoal canister up, you open it up in the basement, you let it sit for 48, 72 hours, you mail it into a lab. They'll go ahead and analyze the data in there, and they'll give you a report with what your radon levels were.
Okay.
The other way to do it is through a digital test. That's the way we prefer. I think you get a lot better feedback with that type of model. So a digital test, instead of just giving you one number like the charcoal, it'll actually give you an hour by hour breakdown. So you can see a graph of where it's going up and down, because it's natural for radon to go up and down when it's in the house. Lots of different factors inside and outside the house contribute to that. A digital test is also going to give you instantaneous results. So when we come back to pick up that test, we get our numbers right away. We don't have to wait for a lab to process it. Less subjugated to human error. And then we also get some additional feedback. I mentioned the hour by hour, but it also reads humidity and pressure and temperature in the space as well. So we know if some of these spikes are something to be concerned about, or maybe they're just an anomaly. The second part of that question, well, why should we test? Well, because there's a big concern. The big concern with radon is lung cancer. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer in the United States. Smoking's number 1. It is the number 1 cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. Children, small pets, they're more susceptible to it because radon's a heavier gas. It concentrates low to the floor. Kids and pets are lower to the floor. And they also have smaller respiratory systems, so they take more breaths per minute than we do as an adult. There are other health concerns when it comes to radon, such as like leukemia, stomach and liver cancer, but lung cancer is the primary concern. And unfortunately, lung cancer, unlike maybe a prostate cancer or a breast cancer, it is very hard to treat. The favorable outcomes with lung cancer are much, much lower when you compare them to some of these other forms of cancer like prostate or breast cancer.
Yeah. So, it's something that people don't even think about because it's tasteless, odorless. You don't even know if it's there.
Yeah. A lot of times I hear people are hearing about it for the first time when they go through a transaction with their home. They might have lived in that home for 30 years and they didn't know what radon was until they went to go sell it, and there was a radon contingency in the home offer, and now there was a test for radon, and they're learning about what it is. Or it might be a new home buyer, a first-time home buyer who's getting educated by a real estate agent on, the offers and what different type of contingencies we put in and what the market conditions are. And oftentimes that's when they're hearing about radon for the first time too.
So what do you do if you find you have it?
Yeah, good question. We install a radon mitigation system on the home. Typically, when we're retrofitting a home, we're doing one of two things. We're either using the existing drain tile that's present there, almost kind of like a straw, to create a negative pressure and pull that radon in from underneath the slab, and mitigate it through PVC pipe with a fan to the exterior, where it's easily diluted into the atmosphere. Same thing for a house without drain tile. We will create what's called a suction pit. That technician will core a hole in the slab, remove 10 gallons of dirt, let's say, and they'll create a nice little vacuum in there underneath the slab. And that's why they call it, the technical term for radon mitigation is sub-slab depressurization.
Okay, so you're trying to create suction to get the air to go the other way.
Pretty much, yeah. Instead of it coming up into the home with the radon gas, we're mitigating that to the exterior now.
Okay.
The added benefit of as you can imagine as well. So actually, back in like the 1980s, my understanding was when they marketed these types of things for a home, they actually marketed it as a whole home dehumidifier, with the added benefit of radon mitigation. And now it's kind of the opposite. So a radon system can actually remove up to 12 gallons of moisture per day from a house. Wow. Which is, that's great for keeping out, mold and mildew and other microbacterials, which, A, aren't good for the house, and B, aren't good for our bodies either.
So how does it work with your HVAC system? How does that work as a system?
Yeah, they're able to work together. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, my HVAC system has a humidifier on it. Will that add to the problem?
Yeah, it certainly could. Every house has different levels of humidity. Some people have to add humidity to their house. Other people have too much humidity. So a radon mitigation system isn't going to eliminate all that moisture. Every house was built differently on different types of soil with different types of backfill. Some people don't have to run a dehumidifier anymore in their basement. Some people still need to add humidity to their basement. Some people just have to empty their dehumidifier less often than others.
I see. So where exactly does the radon come from?
Yeah, great question. Radon comes from rocks. Comes from the soil, which soil is just decomposed rocks. So it starts as a parent element, uranium, and all rocks contain some uranium. Some rocks, though, have higher than average uranium contents, like dark shales and volcanic rocks and granite. And the state rock of Wisconsin is red granite. Yeah. So you can imagine we have quite a bit of it here. As uranium decays, it goes through a transformation basically, and it turns into, I believe it's radium. This is kind of the simple form of it, radium, and then it turns into radon, and then it decays into these other products as well. Polonium. I'd have to go look at them. I think it's polonium, bismuth, and lead, and there's a couple of different forms of each of them. But I'd have to go back to my notes to really check on those.
Yeah, well, this isn't intended to be a chemistry test. I'm just curious where it comes from. So yeah, it comes. So obviously, at least obviously to me, your location, where you live, where your house is, different areas have more propensity to have radon than others.
Yes, absolutely. Depending on what kind of soil conditions are underneath, that's a big factor. Yes.
Okay.
there are other factors as well. And just because, you might live in an area that in general has high radon levels, if you look at that map, let's say, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your home has high radon levels.
Right.
It really is a house to house basis. I had a good friend of mine in Wauwatosa call me, and he had a new house. Mike, I need a radon system in the house. My neighbor to the north has one, and my neighbor to the south has one. And I said, well, hey, bud, why don't we do a test first? Let's get a baseline. Let's see if it's even a problem or how big of a problem it is. We did that test. He thought for sure he was going to come back with high levels of radon. But he actually came back at like a 1.5,
Wow.
which we can talk about what those numbers mean too. Radon is measured in picocuries per liter. The action level that we've set here in the United States is currently 4 picocuries per liter. So anything 4 and above, the EPA, the American Lung Association, etc., they're going to recommend that you remediate. Anything between 2 and 4, those same organizations are going to say you should strongly consider mitigation. And that makes sense when you look at like kind of what other countries do across the world. The action level in a lot of countries right now is currently 2.7. We could even see the United States move to that national standard, that worldwide standard of 2.7. If you're at a 2.7, your chances of getting lung cancer, according to studies done in North America and Europe and Asia, you have an increased risk of anywhere from 8 to 16% to get lung cancer.
Okay. So, so talk a little bit about where you guys do most of your work. Is it in the area where you're located? I think we talked about you're moving north. So again, how people get a hold of you is important. And what kind of geography do you cover?
Yeah. We're based in the Waukesha area. Our main office is in Delafield. We go all the way down to the Wisconsin-Illinois border. We just opened up an office actually in Northern Illinois. So we have radon testing and mitigation services available in that area. We go all the way west past Madison and all the way north really to past, about an hour or two past Green Bay. We've even done jobs up in the UP.
Okay. All right.
Best way to get a hold of us is still, just give our office a call. We have a great office staff that's really knowledgeable. Assistance or the tools that you need. And again, you can reach us here at the office at 262-955-5701.
So tell us a little more about the expanded services you've established beyond radon.
Yeah. So we talked about radon. That's what we're known for. We also have our HVAC division. They can do anything with your furnace or your AC, your boilers. Air quality is a big one. So a lot of people right now are concerned about air quality. People are spending more and more time indoors, for better or worse. So we do duct cleaning. We have a duct cleaning special right now for $199. We also rolled out a new product called AeroSeal. AeroSeal is a duct repair and sealant. Really cool. So typically people who are interested in AeroSeal have one or all 3 of these concerns. The big one is comfort. You might have a room that's, too hot in the summer or too cold in the winter, and you really seem to be struggling to get airflow to that room. It could be leaky ducts.
Sure.
It's more than likely leaky ducts. The other, so that's one issue, comfort. The other issue is air quality. So as those return ducts run through kind of some icky, unfavorable places sometimes, maybe through a basement or through an attic, those cracks and gaps in the duct will pull in dirt and dander and moisture that can lead to mold and other things that are now being blown throughout the house. So it's air quality would be the second thing. And then the third would be cost or energy savings. So when your furnace is running more efficiently, it has to run less. They estimate that once you seal your ducts and it's running properly, you can expect a 20 to 30% savings on your energy. Dryer vents, same thing with air quality. We can do the duct work. We can clean dryer vents as well. We have our electrical team. They can do home generators, electrical vehicle chargers, any kind of lighting or circuit breaker panels. And then I also our handyman team. The handyman team can do anywhere from cleaning gutters to replacing drywall, painting, all the way to brand new $40,000 composite decks.
Okay. Do you do any work with solar?
No work with solar just yet. I believe we've talked about doing some electrical work for solar companies, but nothing really in that realm yet.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Pardon me?
Stay tuned.
Oh, stay tuned. So maybe in the future.
Maybe.
Yeah. So back to radon, is this an issue with both new and aged houses?
Absolutely, yeah. One of the misconceptions that I hear out there is, well, I got a new house. I should be good from radon. Maybe, maybe not. Again, the only way to know is to do a test.
Right.
Sometimes in a new construction, we work with a lot of new construction companies. So when they're building that new home, we're installing a radon mitigation system in that home as it's going up. Some companies will do what's called a passive or a skeletal system. In my experience, I haven't found those to be a really good tool to mitigate. Oftentimes we have to activate those passive systems by putting a fan on. Sometimes we have to kind of let that go and install a new system because maybe the run wasn't right that we're looking for. Older homes tend to breathe or sway a little bit more. You might have more cracks that could let in more radon, but it could also help the home breathe a little bit more. Newer homes are built so tight and so well. We have better insulation, better windows, tighter seals. So if radon is present, it has a better chance to accumulate.
Yeah. So the concentration would be higher just by virtue of the house being tighter.
It certainly could be.
Yeah.
Again, the only way to know is to do a test.
So,
and I don't think I've mentioned this yet. Which I should have said right at the beginning. We do free radon testing.
Okay.
Completely free. No obligation, no tricks, no bells or whistles. Now that's just for residential. We also have a commercial division. The free testing doesn't apply towards that. But for residential purposes, we offer free testing, whether it's a homeowner that's lived in their house for 5, 10, 15 years and they just want to find out, or maybe it's somebody getting ready to sell their home or getting ready to buy a home. We'll do a radon test for that transaction as well. No cost, no obligation, no bells or whistles.
Okay. Yeah, it's not there to try and lure them in.
No, it's
find out if they're at risk.
Yeah, so they have the information. When I think about like radon testing, see, I worked for a large healthcare corporation for over a decade, and I would always talk to my clients about, hey, we have these things called preventive services, mammograms, prostate exams, colonoscopies. why do we want to get these done? They don't cost anything. And we want to find out if there's a problem, because if there is a problem and we find it early, it's easier treated, we have better outcomes, and it's less expensive in the long run. It's
Sure.
no different. It's no different than doing a radon test.
Yeah, because you got to find out whether you're at risk.
Correct.
Okay. Well, this has been very interesting to me. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
I think that's all I have for you today. We covered a lot.
We did. I learned a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the last kind of misconception I'd want to clear up is, radon really isn't this new phenomenon. It's not this new, what's the word? It's not the soup of the day or anything like that. Radon's been around for hundreds of years, and we've known about it. We haven't known specifically what was causing issues, but back in the 15, 16, 1700s, we had these European coal miners who were dying early from lung cancer. They were down in those coal mines being exposed to this radiation that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And then it was in the really like the late 1800s, early 1900s, where we started to learn more about radioactive materials with, the help of some really great scientists like Marie Curie, where we actually, where we get picocuries per liter from, and things unfortunately don't always move as fast as we'd like them to. So it took, almost 100 years for us to get countrywide studies, statewide studies, local studies to be done for us to really learn more about this this phenomenon of radon gas. So I want to let people know also, it's not a new fad, it's not a new thing. It's been around for hundreds of years, and we've known it's been a problem for a while now. And again, the only way to know is if you have radon is to do a test, and we will do a completely free test. Call our office, 262-955-5701.
And again, what's the website? You can check other tests.
Yeah, you can look, you can find our other services as well as radon at lifetimehomeservices.com. And you can check out our past website, Lifetime Radon Solutions, at lifetimeradonsolutions.com.
All right. Well, thanks. I appreciate you learning more, and appreciate your time here, Mike.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you, sir.